Right. Good evening. We are live back on Facebook again with Girlfriends of Virtue podcast, talking tonight to a new visitor, Miss Simone, and we're welcoming Lisa J back.
Hey.
And tonight we got a hot topic. We are talking about what do Black women want from this election. And since we are all beautiful, intelligent, Black women with a whole lot to offer, figured you all would love to hear what we had to say. All right, let's get it started. What do Black women want? This is 2020. You know what? Like seriously, I I could have never imagined really as a child that I would grow up and literally be in my own home having a podcast talking about politics.
Right.
Because we just didn't do that in my home. I mean, it was kind of, I mean, we talked about politics in the sense that you had a duty to vote, but that's as far as it went. And of course, not only did you have a duty to vote, you had a duty to vote Democratic because that's what my family did, right? But beyond that, we didn't talk too much about really how my great grandmother felt, what she really believed we needed. And now that makes me wonder, did she and many others, even though they felt this duty and responsibility to vote, did they really believe that their vote mattered? Did they really believe that their voice mattered?
Right.
And so that's what brings us here tonight, right? What do Black women want? What makes us believe what we want and what we think matters? So,
For me, what I think about more than anything, can you hear me?
mhm.
It sounds like a little feedback, but I can hear you.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I don't know why, because I'm in a quiet room here. I don't know. What I want from this election is I would love to see how they're going to fix the problem of the police brutality. I have the killings. I have a 30-year-old son. I've got stepsons. I've got boys that I have helped, bring up.
Mhm.
And that's what I want to see. I want to see change. I don't want to hear noise. I want to hear change, see change. That's one of the biggest things for me as a woman, because I'm just surrounded by gun violence and what's going on in the law enforcement.
Yeah, I think that's an extremely important issue. Wait, is it me? I feel like I hear a feedback. But I think that's an extremely important issue is the issue of police brutality, criminal justice reform. How are we looking at that? As well as for me, is kind of Black women dying during pregnancy, our mortality rates. I think that is something that is of utmost importance because unfortunately we die often in the living room, and our babies are dying. And I don't have children yet, but as a young woman thinking about that step in my life, I want to make sure that our health care is of the utmost importance. That's extremely important for me in this election.
I don't know who said this, but I read it somewhere this week where they said that the doctors are to a woman what the police is to a Black man. And they were talking about that mortality rate and the things that we go through in the hospital and be ignored and all this because of insurance and whatnot. So I thought that was just profound because I never really looked at it like that.
Well, and you know what, ladies? I tell you, and I'm sorry for this feedback. I don't know what's happening. Now, StreamYard, I'm not quite sure. Is it me? Do you think it's me?
No, I don't hear it anymore. Like when I step back from my
Okay.
it didn't feedback as much.
Okay. Well, we apologize. Work with us. This is not CBS or NBC. It's just RBL. But seriously, you know what? The whole thing of the healthcare, and that was a powerful statement, quote, whatever you read, Lisa, because unfortunately, I guess I have a real story about it. I mean, I haven't talked much about it, and at a different time, I will talk about it in detail. But when I got diagnosed with breast cancer and just everything that I experienced, even now, dealing with my reconstruction, I mean, I have really been mistreated. And, even in particular with my reconstruction that happened this year, my husband said to me, Why did you think a white guy in a small town of Tennessee could be trusted? And I thought, it never crossed my mind, that I should have to consider that I might not be treated so fairly, or while he may be a great doctor, he might not be great for me, just simply because I'm a Black woman. And I'm not alluding that this man is racist or anything, but something went way wrong, and he did some things that definitely weren't right. And just this whole process has made me personally know something is really wrong with the way we're treated in the in the hospitals. I mean, with the doctors, and to the point where a lot of us are really dying from breast cancer and a
Right.
whole host of other diseases because, one, we're not getting the information. Okay. In fact, let me tell you this. And Simone, this is for you and all the women, seriously, who haven't had children. And I said I was going to save this to talk about this on another show, but let me just say this right quick. This whole thing of freezing your eggs.
Right.
Well, most Black women, nobody ever talks to us about that. Now, I don't know if it's because maybe you were on Medicaid. That could be it. They figure you will ever afford it. But
Right.
guess what? For most of us who have been on employer paid insurance, most of your adult life, you still have never had your doctor talk to you at all about freezing eggs. And then you're getting older and older and older. And for instance, in my case, I just learned, Miss Brown, if you want another child, or Miss Mosley, if you want another child, you probably better give that up. And in your case, while anything is possible, your eggs are too low. Wow. Well, I had no idea. So you wonder, why wasn't I ever told this information?
Right.
Right. And you
And
find now, and I know we're talking about politics, but you find now that I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and she talked about a few years ago, she went and got her eggs frozen because I think now we're becoming more educated about it. And so more Black women are doing it, but it's super expensive, right? So you need to actually budget for it. It's my understanding that some insurance is covering it, but it depends on what you have. But those are conversations that we never really had, or it always seemed like it was for those others, like not for us, not for me as a Black woman. And so now we're learning more about it. We're learning about it as we're getting older when it's getting too far along for us to freeze our eggs for them to be viable. So, it's just conversations that we continue
Hello,
to
can everybody hear me?
yeah, hey Barbara,
I'm
we so
having
glad to have you
some
back.
technical difficulties, but
It's been that kind of night. We've been having a little technical difficulty tonight too.
all right.
We see you. The world sees you. We're live. We're already started. We talking it up.
Having problems, ladies. Sorry.
She can't hear us.
Oh, she can't hear us.
And I'm having to use my phone if you can hear me. Let me show
Yeah, can you hear us,
but I can't hear you.
Barbara? Do you hear me?
I can't hear you.
No.
Oh, Barbara, log off and try to come back in.
She can't hear.
She can't hear us.
I'm going to go out and come back in. Okay?
Y'all will listen. Y'all will mind reading each other.
But anyway, but the point is still we're talking about what Black women want. We want to be treated like everyone else with respect. We want to be regarded as people who have unlimited opportunity and potential. And that's the thing, when we're not given information to potentially help us, whether we're talking about having a child or even what about just taking better care of yourself. You don't even know certain things.
Right.
Okay. And so for me, this election, I mean, with Sister Kamala, is that, how do you say her name?
Kamala, that's a HU graduate like myself. So, I'm absolutely proud of Bison over here. So, yes, Kamala.
Okay, Kamala. Well, I'm going to tell you, Simone, I am happy, but I'm not going to pretend like she's my pick. Because, I don't know. When I think about her where she's been. Now, I guess everybody can change in terms of her politics as it pertains to when she was practicing as a district attorney and the three strike laws here in California. I don't know that she was so against it. I think the reading says she was for it at one time. Is that correct?
Which reading are you referring to? I don't know if she was for it. I mean, I think that was the law at the time. And as you know, as a district attorney, you have to enforce the law, right? But I think that she had practices embedded in her office such that she tried to redirect people. And I just don't think people are talking about that. Like, people want to talk about all these other, you know, she's the district attorney, right? That was the law on the books. She's not the legislature. She cannot change that. But I do think she tried to implement, and matter of fact, I think I was watching the other day, it was like a C-SPAN video that she did years ago when she was a district attorney, talking about what she was trying to do in her office to kind of alleviate some of those things that come along with what was happening with the three strikes and you're out. And I just don't think people want to hear that. Like, you know, my problem sometimes is when we look at Black women in those roles and those positions, we treat them much harsher than other candidates who are prosecutors that we didn't look at their record the way that we looked at hers. And I'm like, I mean, there were other individuals who are prosecutors that we didn't have cut down. If you when you really look at what she tried to do in that office, I think she did try to help the community, but people only see one part of that and not the entire picture of what she did out in office.
Now, let me say something, because I mean, I think you're correct if the other perspective isn't put out there. So I don't know that people don't want to hear it. I think it's what perspective, and then that's her job. You see, now here's the thing for me. I'm the same every day to everybody. So I don't believe, and that's the one thing that concerns me sometimes with us, whether it's Black or women, is that we feel like, well, you should do this for me because, well, I'm not as bad as they. I'm not the best, but I'm not as bad as my male colleagues. So all I'm saying, I think we should judge them all the same. And with respect to her policies that she implemented or tried to implement, that's her duty to get that out.
I think it's out there. I think people don't want to see it because all they want to say is she's the Black woman who was a prosecutor. No, it's out there. I think it's out there for everybody to see. I just think that some folks want to focus solely on the fact that she was a prosecutor, not really looking at what she actually did in her time in that role. And I think that's what the difference is. I think it's out there. And what I do think is that you should judge everybody on their policies across the board. Black, white, male, female, Asian, Hispanic, whatever the case may be. I just don't think people do that for Black women, specifically Black candidates. I don't think people give us the benefit of the doubt. They don't. Like, it's out there. And if you want to look at what our policies are, they're out there. People don't choose to do the same research. They focus on one part of it and not everything, is what I'm saying. I agree with you. I do think that you should judge everybody.
So given that racism, given that many polls anyway, and I'm one who would agree that racism is a number one issue for Black women, whether we're talking about police brutality, whether we're talking about workplace discrimination, whether we're talking about discrimination in healthcare options or healthcare treatment, housing, etc. How do you believe Kamala is going to address that issue or those concerns?
What do you mean? How do I think she's going to do it?
Yeah. Has she talked about how has she talked about, because I don't know, I'm not pretending to follow the politics. I really don't anymore. It's very much. But I'm asking you because you clearly are a passionate supporter of it. And I am not mad about it. So I just simply ask, how do you think she will attempt to address this number one issue for many Black women?
I mean, I think she'll set policy in place. And I'll say this in all honesty, not that I'm an avid supporter. What I am is, in the work that I do, I know that people judge what she has done in the past more harshly than other people. That's what I'm saying. Like, so I am saying that people put her up and judge her much harshly than other prosecutors who have run in this race, other individuals who have had the same job that she has had, that they don't try to look at their record as much as they try to look at hers. As a Black woman, as an Asian American woman, I do think, I don't know, I can't tell you that I sat there and looked at the Biden-Harris policies yet. I have not done that yet. Will I do that in preparation? I mean, I know where my vote will be, but to be more informed of what that, what they plan to do to make sure they're held accountable to that, I will surely be doing that as well. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I've actually looked up what the specific policies that they plan to implement for, I think, police brutality. Because I think that is an issue that she has talked about, and talking about what does the reformation of a police department looks like. I know she's talked about, have I looked at step by step what that policy looks like, and I know she's talked about that's a goal that she has, and looking at how we look at policing and look at community policing, which is, I think, one of the bigger things we're talking about now.
Barbara, are you with us?
I'm here via phone. I don't know what's going on with my laptop, but I'm here.
Well, good to see you, girlfriend.
Hello.
And we are in the thick of talking about what Black women want in this election. And we started off just talking about the fact that just even being able to have a round table like this with just regular, hardworking, good-looking women was not commonplace when we were growing up. And for you, I wonder, was that something you and your family did? You sat around and kind of talked about what you wanted and what women wanted?
Are you asking me because it's kind of crackly, so I just want to make sure. Are you asking me?
Yes.
Okay, we've had discussions on and off in regards to this, and yes, she is going to be put to a higher task because, first of all, she is a woman. She is Black and Asian, and so yes, she is going to be judged. Unfortunately, I think harsher, and Biden, for that matter. I mean, he's got some issues that he's gonna have to deal with and answer for. So, in answer to your question, we've discussed it. And as I told you before, if Daffy Duck was on the ticket, I'm down. I'm voting for him. Okay, so that means that I'm voting for the Biden-Harris ticket. But just like you said, I need to do my research in terms of what their policies are. The unfortunate thing is that we, every party, the Republican Party is exclusive to us for the most part. The Democratic Party, I think, has taken our vote for granted for a long time, and they say, well, this is what we're going to do, or maybe they don't come with a plan. I want to know, what are you going to do for me? So that's what I think we are in our family discussions now.
And so and anybody can just chime in. I mean, seriously, I think many of us are feeling that way, especially if you voted Democratic most of your life or your family's voted Democratic. It's like, really, what is the Democratic Party going to do for us? We're still being killed. Black women are still being paid 60% less. 60 cents on the dollar. Like, this is real. And I think if you haven't had a personal experience with struggle, hardship, maybe you don't really know, but it's very real. And given the fact that 51% of our households are headed by a single mother family, does that matter today? I mean, like, what do you all think in terms of our voice really being heard and really making a difference? Aside from the fact that I think they said that Black women kind of rallied together to push on Biden to ensure that he would select a Black woman candidate.
Well, I think at this time, we're really going to just have to, like you said, do our research and then be very, very, I think this is the time for us to have a voice now, for real, because we will have hopefully a Black woman in office. And hopefully that we can all come together and really have a voice as one. I had somebody attack me today on social media, on YouTube. I had made a statement about 45 and how he has allowed Obama to pretty much control his mind because he's so angry about everything that President Obama did. And somebody sent me a message that said, what about, it was a black woman, and she was walking through the streets of Baltimore talking about this area has women that are head of households, it's trash. She was talking about how the deaths of sons and daughters happened in Baltimore, and the Democrats didn't do anything about it. She tried to dog me. I said, ma'am, I've walked those same streets. I lived in Baltimore all last year. I know all about that. But in my opinion, some of that is a people problem. We need to have more things in place for the people. It's not a Democratic or a Republican party. It's a people party. And so, issue. So I don't know. I'm just hoping for the best with this election.
When you said it's a people problem, what did you mean?
There are some things that's not in place on a government level, from what they have told me, because I stayed in a hotel. My space was about this long. So, but from what I heard from the people there, their complaint was there wasn't enough programs. You know, there wasn't enough unity in the neighborhoods to get things done. There wasn't enough women and men sticking together to have a sound and have one sound and one voice. So when the girl was going through, it was a black woman too, and she was walking down the street saying that all of this was trash. I'm like, is it Republican? Is it Democrat? She said, look what the Democrats have done, because she was a Republican.
Is that the young lady who's running for Representative Elijah Cummings' seat? Was it that video of her?
I didn't even look at her. I just saw her in a little pink suit, and she's a darker skinned woman with long hair. That's all I noticed about her.
So I think that's the woman that is running. I think she actually spoke at the RNC convention this week, but okay. She is a Republican. And I believe that she had a commercial out and she was speaking about certain community. I think that community that Representative Elijah Cummings represented while he was alive and in office. And she was talking about how the Democrats have, been the representative for that community for a long period of time. They haven't done anything. And this is what the streets look like. And I think that was her way of trying to, I guess that's the avenue that they're taking in order to say, vote for me, this black woman Republican, and not for the Democratic candidate or whatever. I think that's what they're doing.
But what do you think of that? I mean, like, okay, now I heard what you said, Lisa, and now I understand putting it all together. But I think I have felt that way in different places. I mean, it's like you've had a black female, even a congressional rep, a state rep, local reps, and our community, we aren't getting anything. We aren't getting the programs. We aren't getting the support we need. So should we not judge these folks? I mean, I guess I don't really understand. I mean, Democrat or Republican, I agree with you, Lisa, that I do think our community, there's some things that we could do, and black women, we should come together to do. But I do think there's also some things politically, because we're talking about now money and prioritizing of funding.
Right.
And if we're sending people to Washington to represent us, but then your community in Baltimore, in Detroit, in Atlanta, in Houston is deplorable. I mean, these people ran for that seat so they could be held accountable for it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Is that what are your thoughts, Simone or Barbara?
I think that we have to come to a place where we're holding politicians accountable across the board, period, right? Like, if you ran on a certain platform and you're saying this is what you want to do, or this is what you have told the voters, this is what I will do, and I think you do have a responsibility to do that. And if you've attempted to do it, but other reasons you couldn't get it passed, or you couldn't get some legislation passed or whatever, at least showing a record and being active, but no, what's the word I'm looking for? Transparent.
Yeah.
Being transparent in the work that you're doing. And I think we as voters have to realize and stop saying our vote doesn't count, because it does. Because what happens is you have politicians who go into office, Republican, Democrat, Independent, whoever, who take these positions for the sake of saying that they're a state representative, but they're not doing the work, right? And then we stay at home and we don't vote in the midterm elections. We don't vote to get those people out until they remain in that position, constantly not doing the work. But I think we're getting to a newer generation. Like, this younger generation is really being bold and saying, look, if you don't do what you say you're going to do, we're going to come out and we're going to vote you out. And I think that's what we have to do. I think we have to hold our politicians accountable, because at the end of the day, you're public servants.
Right.
If you're not serving the public, then you need to go. And we need to, one, not be afraid to build them out, but two, identify people in our community who we think would do the work, and putting them up to run in elections and run to do the work, because we really want people who are going to do the work and not get caught up in the politics of doing the work. And I know it's a hard struggle at times.
To say the least.
To say the least, right? Because unfortunately, I'm sure there are a lot of people with good hearts who went to the role to really want to effectuate change, and then you deal with the politics of trying to effectuate change. And that's why I think you got to be transparent too, so people can see that you're trying to do the work, but maybe things are stopping you, but you're actually trying to do the work.
Right.
Well, I want to get back to this though. So I'm looking at that study from the Essence article that I posted. And, you know, it said that in 2018, racism was the number one issue. No, was hate crimes and racism for Black women, which went up from 17 and then went up again as the number one issue in 19. What you all think about that? I mean, hate crimes and racism.
Well, I think it's the environment that we're living under. And when I say under, I mean the powers that be and 45 in the White House. I was just speaking to a friend the other day, and I can't remember. We all know that there is racism in America. That's part of the history of the country.
Right.
But it is so foul and so mean. It's almost like they've got a license to speak how they're speaking to us now. And what they're doing to us now.
Right.
And with that, we don't have anything in place for to curtail that. Not government, not law enforcement, not politicians. We don't have. It seems as though we don't have anything in place. And in regards to holding politicians to the fire, I don't know. Is it a little late to hold them to the fire? I mean, I know what I got to do on election day, but when I say, okay, I need this, that to survive as a Black woman, is it not a little late in the game for me to be saying that? Like, are they listening? Do they hear it? Is that going to make a difference? Don't get me wrong, a vote makes a difference. I'm just saying going forward.
What, Lisa, you about to say?
Well, I was just thinking one part in that you stated, I was like, about how blatant everything is right now. You know, I can't blame racism on 45, but I can say that everything rises and falls on leadership. And the people are so comfortable that their leadership is one way, whether he thinks he's a racist or not. The people that follow him, a lot of the people that we've seen that follow him, they think he's a racist. So that gives them the power in their mind to be able to talk to us and question us about our going in and going out, like they did back in slavery, where you had to have a note if you was leaving one
Right.
station going to the other. So I think that they have created this thing in their mind that it's okay because their leader is like that. And he it's in your face these days. I've had a couple of experiences recently at the airport this past weekend. And I thought to myself, okay, Karen, that was playing Karen. Please don't do it today, girl. Don't do it today. So that's what I was just thinking about that when Miss Barbara was talking about it.
Well, let me ask you, Barbara dropped off. It must be her connection. But you two, have you two had any experience yourself in the last 1 to 5 years with what you would consider racism or hate?
Oh, I like to got popped in the face in Baltimore last year because I went to go assist a customer who was waiting. I was off the clock, but I was having dinner, and he was being really rowdy with my server. And so I went back. I said, "How can I assist you?" And he was like, he started going in on us. But what got me after I went to go and find out why his food was delayed, there was 20-person meal over on the other side, and I was explaining to it. He said to me, "I only got soup and salad, girl. You go do the salad. You go back there and Yo. So I said, I turned away. It was like I almost had an out-of-body experience. I turned away and I started talking to myself. And I walked away and went and told the chef what he said. This little guy, never seen him move fast for anything. But that brother, like, broke his neck getting out there and told him, "Man, I tell you what, sir, you can take your business somewhere. You will not speak to our management like that."
That's interesting. What about you, Simone?
I haven't myself. I don't think. And I was one of the experiences that I experienced. It wasn't even against me, and this was probably maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. I was actually at a fast food restaurant, and the staff was primarily Hispanic. And it was a guy, and they're moving as fast as they can, getting their work. And they're talking to each other in Spanish, not bothering anybody, but they, having their conversation. And the man, this white man was like, "This is America, speak English." And I'm like, who are you talking to? They're not even talking to you. Like, how are you even, what are you, like, you're number 5. Like, they're not talking to you, and you're behind. So what are you worried about what they're doing? He's like, "You need to speak English. You're in America now." And I'm like, how ignorant are you? Right? And I was just like, I was like, they're not talking to you. So why are you even commenting on what they're doing? You're rude. Because I guess he thought he was going to laugh or a joke. And many of us in the line were like,
Shut up.
"You're so rude and disrespectful." But that was 5 years ago. So that was before the 45 era. So I already know that man's probably acting a fool right now somewhere. Because that was before her.
Well, and in fact, it's been quite a few stories actually like that around the country over the last 5 years, where somebody was yelling at mostly a Hispanic person, telling them, you need to speak English. I mean, seriously, no, there were a number of things that made it to the news regarding that. But here's what's heavy to me. I personally, so I arrived in Arkansas. No, this, I gotta say it. I'm gonna raise my hands up. Free Arkansas, because I'm so convinced that not only is Arkansas not free, but Arkansas really put in perspective the majority of my Southern experience. So to be honest, I have been navigating through life for this last decade in particular throughout the South, completely oblivious and ignorant to the racism and even sexism that was confronting me. However, when I got to Arkansas, this is in 2017, and I went to enroll my daughter in a country, small town, maybe I shouldn't say country, small town high school. And guess what? Now, I don't know if this was racism. You all tell me, but the superintendent when somebody went to speak to him about me and said, I think Miss Brown could help us. At that time, I was still Brown. He said, who? The lady who talks funny? The lady who talks funny. This is in 2017. And a superintendent described me that way. Then my daughter, second day of class, she comes home and tells me about her one of her teachers referred to two black men or black boys in her class kind of, playing with each other or talking trash or something. And he said, stop throwing gang signs. And so Jordan said, why would he say that to them? They weren't throwing gang signs. But my point is, these type of interactions, these assumptions about us, even when we moved to Little Rock, or before I got to Little Rock, I was told I wasn't going to get a job in Arkansas. And you know what I was told? Was that I was something like an uppity Negro. Can you believe that? Yeah, like I'm not making this up. And I can just tell you when I got to Little Rock and I went on job interviews, it was as if I was offensive for being intelligent. And I was offensive for having any measure of confidence about my knowledge. So that was amazing for me.
Right.
And then the folks that maybe weren't racist, but who were extremely curious when they encountered me. I mean, I'm serious. Like I had these experiences where white folks treated me almost like, where'd you come from? So, for me, I've had some real experiences. So when I read that article, that was very real for me. If you had asked me, racism, and then the things that I had witnessed in Arkansas, like I said, took me back to North Carolina, took me back to Texas, took me back to Florida, took me back to all these southern states I had been in. And then now I was able to put things in proper perspective and say, oh my God, I guess that was racism. I guess this is sexism. So it's very real. And I'm very concerned that whether it's Kamala Biden or whoever, but certainly for them to, like, I really need them to hear and to care about what's happening to Black women today.
Right.
Because let me tell you something, this racism, especially in certain places, it's worse than others, right? So Arkansas is very different than Georgia, although they are first cousins, I suspect. Arkansas is different than Mississippi, and they're brothers and sisters.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, things are really happening in these places that are really hurting our folks.
Right. I've even been in one instance to where I was a salesperson at a property, and on the phone, I've been talking to this man for 3 weeks, and he finally flew in. And when he met me, he said, "I'll be there at 5:30." I'm like, "Okay, I'll wait for you." Got around the corner, and I said, "Are you whatever his name is?" He said, "Are you Lisa?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I didn't know you were Black." I said, "Do you still need the space or not?" That's all I can say. Does it matter? And I ran into that all the time in different properties and different places I've been where I've been the only Black person in the room. And it's just helped me grow and be better. There she is.
Finally. I was having serious issues, but I am here now.
Yes, you did
And I
it.
can hear you.
Oh my goodness. What were you going to say
now?
now?
What I miss?
Well, we were talking about some of our personal experiences with racism, and also what we need from these candidates, because how this really impacts us. And let me say one more thing I think is worth sharing with you all and the rest of the world, talking about my experience with racism. Now, I don't know, maybe this isn't racism, but if you start a job and your white manager says, Renee talks whiter than the whitest white person.
That's not funny. Oh Lord, no, it's funny. It's racist, but it's funny. No, that's
But I mean, I know I'm being sincere because this really happened. This was 2018. 2018. And here was the setup. My direct boss was a black woman.
Mm.
He was a white man. And he said to her, not only did he say I talk whiter than the whitest white person, he basically went on to imply that I talked more proper than she did. So really he was insulting both of us.
Right.
And this black woman just, kind of sat back like it wasn't a big deal. And soon I
And where
realized this
were
is
you,
not
if I may ask?
in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay.
I mean, but you know what? Here's the thing. I'm in Georgia now. And I came by way of Tennessee. So, and oh my, guess what I found out? When I left Arkansas, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm moving over to Tennessee. I'm going up into the house now." Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I'm sorry, folks. I got to tell you, for Renee, this racism and this sexism stuff is so real, and it's so real down in this South. I mean, it's everywhere. But I am convinced that it is seriously more afoot in these deep Southern states, and it's in your face.
It's in your face now.
Yes. Now I would say more than ever. And I still believe that it has a lot to do with the powers that be that are giving them the okay. Because would they have said that or anything like that to any of us 5-10 years ago?
See, I don't know. I feel like the racism, Simone and I met in law school. I started law school, hard to believe, 13, 14 years ago. And I remember when I started law school in 2006. And I said, I came to law school to do civil rights work. And I'm convinced that most of the folks thought I was a relic from the past. They said, civil rights? I remember this. It said, civil rights? Renee, what?
Mm-hmm.
So, to be honest, to me,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it may be more egregious and in our face with 45,
Mm.
but I'm sorry, this last 15 years, like I said, it took me to come up to 2017, maybe 2015 in Texas, let me be honest, but it's taken in the last 5 years for me to really understand it. But the truth is, I've been seeing it through my entire journey, and I just didn't necessarily know how to call it. And to be honest, unlike today, it wasn't so popular and comfortable for us to openly talk about either.
Yeah, I think it's always been there. I just don't think it's been as
Blatant.
prevalent, as blatant as it is now. And we talk about implicit biasness, right? So I think it's implicit. Like, I just know I'm a lawyer, I'm a trial lawyer. There's been times when I've had a juror shocked, like, "Oh my gosh, you know, such an amazing case. You were so articulate." And I'm like,
See what I'm saying? There you go.
what? I don't know what you thought I was supposed to do.
And that's been in the last 10 years, right?
That's definitely within the last 10 years. I mean, so I think
You always get the comment, "Oh, you speak very well." Oh,
Yeah.
it's like, what language did you think I was supposed to speak?
Or did you not think I was going to put on a good work product because you thought I was Black? Like, I wasn't going to give you a good work or a good thorough work product because you wouldn't have it. Or I've had in certain types of cases where I have Black women who are witnesses. I've had jurors say, like, I mean, do you really think she was victimized? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't she? I mean, I'm not here for my health, right? Like, she was harmed. Like, why would you think that? And then I'm always like, if this wasn't a Black person as this person been injured, would you think? Would you even say that out of your mouth? So it's not. It's implicit, and then they think that we can't be harmed or we
They underestimate.
They underestimate us, and so it's there. And I guess so much, I'm always just like, what? And I just keep on moving, and I don't really like. And that's probably like Would you say that? That's crazy. Okay, but let me move on.
Well, and I think that's what I'm saying. Simone, I've been moving through life just blowing it off. Oh, not realizing what's really been happening all this time. In fact, when I think back to graduate school before I started law school, right? Now this was heavy. So I was on a fellowship and many of my colleagues were, and I had some colleagues that were at some of the top universities, Harvard, University of Chicago, getting their PhDs, etc. And when we would get together and talk about the experiences that we were all having at these different predominantly white institutions as women of color, Black women getting masters and PhDs, and the hell that we were being put through. And I remember back then, because I used to be the head of the Black Graduate Student Association, and I said, ladies, we're going to have to start speaking and sharing this. But of course, nobody wanted to take the time to do that, right? And so here we are, fast forward 16 years, and now it's really out of control. But the truth is, we were talking about this stuff 16 years ago, 20 years ago.
Let me ask you ladies something. Going forward, how do we demand what it is that we want from these politicians? Can we do it prior to the election? Or is that something that's going to have to be on the back burner for 2021 when hopefully it changes? The White House changes.
Well, I think for local politicians, right? Because I think it's
definitely local. Yeah.
For local politicians, I think that you can reach out to your city council person, your legislator, or your representative.
I do it all the time.
Well, but hold on. Now this is where I hear my dear friend Rakim talking to me. That would be Barbara's cousin, saying, Renee, you believe it. You always talking that individualism, but it's really about the collective and the organization. So now I think and I agree with him here, because Simone, you said, okay, you can reach out to your local council person or whomever, but individually, you don't really have so much power. And that's the issue, is that locally even, we're not as collective as we could or should be. So that to me is what we have to do. Locally, begin to organize in some kind of way. And
I take it upon myself, and a lot of people don't, because I reach out to the ladies that I know from different, avenues. And let's talk about when I get my, when we're voting locally, who's running for alderman, who's running for Senate, what do you know about her? Did you pull her up? None, very rarely do you hear anyone say, well, I pulled her up and I looked at her track record and I'm not impressed. Now, there can be 3 or 4 running for judge, but if you don't look at their track record and it's not beneficial to you, then how are you just gonna, okay, it's Democrat. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I've heard people say they're going to vote straight Democrat.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah, I think that people don't do the research, and I think that's what ends up happening. People don't do the research, and I will say, I am becoming more astute in how I vote and how because I will say I was one of those back in the day. I mean, who am I not to, like I was the one like, oh, Democrat, and I was just like, oh, you first, you second. I didn't really do the research, but now I know that our matters, and I know it's really important about who we actually put in office.
Yeah,
I begin to do the research and really find out what are their platforms, what have they been doing, what are they saying they're going to do, and if they're not doing what they said they were going to do, then come the next election, if someone's running against them, I'm going to look at what the opposition is doing or whatever the case may be, because I do think it's important that we do their research. But unfortunately, we haven't been really trained to go out, do your research, get your ballot online.
Right.
And people at the basic level don't even know what some of the people do, right? I found myself educating people during this cycle. Well, this is why you need to vote for this district attorney. This is why you need to vote for this. This is why you need to vote. These people are affecting your everyday life. And some people don't even realize how important elections are. And so I think you got to even start at the core, like civics 101.
Hold on. This is my challenge. Now let me just tell you all something. So Simone and Barbara, well, at least you might not know this. So I started teaching political science at the college level in graduate school. I love it. I'm good at it. I'm great at it. In fact, I created a curriculum and I didn't even intend to. So when I was in Texas, again, I'm so enthusiastic about this. I created a program that I wanted to take it to the community. But a part of why I didn't, I felt like, who's going to come? Because again, you can put it out there, but people don't come. Now, maybe I should have put it out there. And so maybe that's where it brings me to now. Is to your question, Barbara, you said, what can we do to get our voices heard? Do we wait till after the election? Or what can we do before the election? And I think, again, that's why we're here. We're ordinary, but we're extraordinary. And I think we really, seriously, ladies, I mean, I know we all got a lot going on. And in fact, Simone and I are here in Georgia, Lisa's in Tennessee, and Barbara's in Chicago. But at the end of the day, I think there is something that we can do that doesn't even have to be so major to be of service to sort of help communicate. What do Black women want in different places and getting that information communicated out? Because that's what it's going to take. It's not individual. Yeah, voting is great, but it is about organizing. It is about sort of creating these political action committees locally, regionally, throughout the country and worldwide to say, hey, we have a voice. And here's the thing, all the organized groups can come together, especially when you're organized around the same principles and promoting the same issues, right? Mm-hmm. But I really feel like that's what has to happen. Like now, we really have to ourselves be willing to be a bit more politically engaged and support the organizations that exist to help them communicate what's needed and what we want. Because really, Lisa, you said it earlier, and I'll give it back to you. I mean, now more than ever, our voices need to be heard. Go ahead, Lisa.
I was just thinking, I'm a part of a women's fund. Mm-hmm. And what we do, we got together, it was about child marriage. Somebody was trying to take the age of child marriage down to like 12 or 14 or something.
Sounds like Tennessee.
And so this group of ladies, and I came in this room accidentally, even though I work for that kind of stuff, the sex trafficking and caring about the children having a childhood, not getting married at the age of 6, that kind of thing. I just stumbled into this room with a friend of mine, and they were there writing letters to our local people. Mm-hmm. And so we all got together and hand wrote a letter to each one of them. We wrote like 5 letters a piece to these people, to these Congress, representatives, and got some great responses back. And so I believe that the age went up some during that time, and they stayed in contact with us and everything. Mm-hmm. So it does take that, the unity to be one voice, one sound, and then have one goal to get it done.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And that is something that probably we all need to do. I'm finding it a little harder here because of where I live and where the rest of my group is. I mean, we can talk via phone or FaceTime or whatnot, but I don't know. I think that they're not as engaged or interested in it as I am. And I've always been outspoken about what's right and what's wrong and being blacker than black, So I find that to be very difficult for those that I still have left in my, age that I network with and whatnot. And for the most part, it was like, well, my ideas and whatnot are different now because I got 3 grandkids. I have a black son, okay, who is, he's hunting me. When he go outside, make sure you have your driver's license, make sure you have this, make sure you have that. You got to do that.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
I got 2 little boys and a little girl. And I'm educating all of them because it ain't no telling who they gonna grab. So I think at some point, sometimes we get to a point where we become complicit, for lack of a better word, and it doesn't affect me. Why not? You got grandkids.
That's right.
You got children. Why doesn't it affect you? Don't you want your Medicare free instead of having to take a supplement? Come on now.
Yeah, we don't know about that yet, though, but we certainly
I don't
support
know
it.
about that, but
We don't know yet.
a lot of people that are stepping into that age category think that Medicare is free. That shit, excuse me. It's not free.
It's a real girlfriend.
It's not free. You got to pay.
You got to pay.
You got to pay if you want something better that will take care of all of your health issues. You've got to pay, and people are not told that, and they don't know that. I mean, there are a lot of things that, because I try to work hard on educating seniors, because that's what I am. You need to know your rights. You need to know where to go if Con Ed gonna shut your electricity off, or you need help paying your mortgage or your rent, or you need some food. Just common things that for whatever case, we don't take care of our elders like other countries do. We really don't.
And most of our elders are women.
Right.
Now that's the one thing I can say. And ladies, this has definitely been great. And we're gonna wrap it up. But I gotta say this: women outlive men. It's not that we shouldn't take care of them, but the reality is the majority of elder women are single.
Yes.
And let me tell you something. Barbara is talking right here. In all honesty, you can think you can save all the money you could possibly make, but if you're an average working person, baby, when you hit senior retirement and by yourself,
Right.
life could get real difficult. And so I think we have to think about that right now, because those of us that are coming behind you, Barbara, we intend to get there and be comfortable, but we don't know what might happen. Let me give you just a quick example. I have a girlfriend
Mm-hmm.
who sister was making probably very close to 6 figures, if not 6 figures.
Uh-huh.
And she had a stroke, a very serious stroke 2 years ago. And just like that, she can't work. It breaks my heart because sister's well under 50. So you see that, and nobody ever thought about disability. And where are the resources? There aren't any. You're on your own.
Wow.
So those are the kind of things, to me, women, period, and certainly for us as Black women, because to be truthful, we work so hard so long. And for most of us, we really don't get it in terms of comfortable living till we well over 50 years old.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I want people to care about what matters to us. And I want to, and what matters to me, and let's close with each of you sharing what matters to me, and what I want from this election is respect for my people, particularly Black women, and hear what we have to say, because we are undergirding this society with our work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Who's next? We're gonna close it out. and wrap it up with what you want. What basically you saying what Black women want in your opinion to close it up.
We want our children to be protected.
Yeah.
You know, we want our children to be safe and want them to be able to grow up.
Mhm.
No, not just when they grow up, but be able to grow up and live a good life. And so I am hoping that they don't just talk about it, but be about it and walk
Mhm.
the walk and walk the talk.
That's right. There you go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. One, I want to be alive to see the kids grow up.
Word.
I want to know that if you're putting yourself to be of service to the people, that you're actually doing. And so, what I want, if you're putting yourself up for public service, be a public servant and serve and do the work.
I would like, as a Black woman, as part of the Black women population, I would like for us to be taken seriously because we have a lot to bring to the table. We have a lot of experiences. We have a lot that can be taught. We can teach. We can pass down information. So I'd like those as some of the avenues that are open to Black women. And I will just say this. The next time we get together, I would like to discuss this 45 pardon on the sister. I can't think of her name.
Oh yeah, out of Tennessee. You talking about the one that Kardashian led the party?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to hear some other voices on it. You know, some of you young sisters that are out there. You know, speed me up. Give me a little information.
Give us some information. You know what? Now this is how you know I'm a complete novice at this technology thing. So people give comments. I don't even know how to post it. So to everyone, first of all, I am so thankful to be here with you ladies tonight, and I'm so thankful for all the people who tuned in to us. And I hope that they enjoyed our talk, and I hope they got something from it, and I hope they will share our podcast because we're weekly. Now, our regular day is Thursday, but I kind of like Friday, but maybe we can come back to Thursday next week. What do you think, ladies?
I'm going to be busy on Friday next week. So, yeah.
So Thursday is. Yeah. Okay. We'll be back at our regular scheduled time.
Say something just before we go? I just clicked on comments.
Right, I can see them now.
Yeah.
I see. Like, why y'all talking politics?
Politics.
That's it.
And then the other, and then Miss Ophelia said everything that you say is true, but we as Black people promote that being too intelligent isn't representative of being Black enough. We promote ignorance as something to be proud of.
I mean, there's some truth to that.
That is.
That's some truth to that. And that's and Ophelia, and thank you for that comment because in fact, and we'll pick this up next week, but I'm gonna tell you that's a big discussion right now about really, especially for the young generation, being too smart, talking too white. Well, I just told you the white man told me I was talking whiter than the whitest white person, whatever. But that comes from us too, right? White folks, Black folks say you talk white. Black folks say you act white. Black folks say you're acting too much of this and that. And so that goes back to your point too, Lisa, with some things that I think we do need to do in our community, right? Like it's only so much that the politicians can do, but we got a lot of work. And I think as Black women, real talk, we're the leaders of whatever change we want to see.
Right.
True that. And thank you, Miss Latifah.
Oh, I was about to say,
comment too.
Miss Latifah, why are we talking about politics? It's not necessarily politics. It's about us and what the politics can do for us. And if we don't
there we go.
talk about it, we can't get informed about it. We can't get research it. And so that's what Girlfriends is. We're here to talk about everything that affects us financially, health-wise, our children, everything. So we're gonna be talking about a lot of stuff.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm glad you said that, Lisa, because girlfriends. So for those that don't know, what's uniting us are the principles, the values. And remember, what you value dictates what and how you do things. So girlfriend stands for God-fearing, intelligent, resilient, loving, faithful, reliable, influential, enthusiastic, noble, diligent, and spiritual. So as women who are unequivocally influential, yeah, we have a duty to talk politics, to engage in politics, and to make sure that politics, as Lisa said, is working for us and our community. And that means you too, Latifah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you, ladies.
Love
Happy
you,
Friday.
ladies. Have a
Simone,
good week.
please get you some rest. Do not be on this Facebook. No, lady. Hey, you better tell
I
her.
can't do
But
it.
she's not 40 yet, so she figures she can keep wearing her little body down, but she needs to rest.
No, I'm gonna finish eating.
I got too many books I gotta read.
I got some crab legs. I'm gonna finish eating, and then I'm going to bed.
Yeah, okay. Well, get to bed, lady, and get some rest.
All
Bye
right,
to you, ladies.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. The audience have a
Bye-bye.
blessed evening also.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.